Who do you think's got the edge here? Is it
I
really
think I really think the matchup is close.
Yeah.
I think that Storm has the edge. I don't know what BBD's ability to play Storm is versus other decks. Like, you know, if he's playing Esper Deathblade or anything of that nature, I know he's very familiar with that. I don't know, you know, what his level of Storm playing ability is. Are we looking at a kind of a novice Storm player, or are we looking at like an Adam Prozac level Storm player? That's the question.
Yeah. Adam Prozac, that's a pretty high level Storm player.
Yeah.
Adam Prozac, congratulations to him for his recent accomplishment.
Absolutely.
If you hadn't heard, Adam Prozac, the latest of a long line of interns at Wizards of the Coast for R&D. So turn 1, Duress from BBD meets a Brainstorm from Marius to protect a few of the cards. 2 to be exact. Going to see exactly what he finds, the most important cards that he expects BBD to want to take with that Duress, and hide them on the top of his library. Not exactly hidden, they're right on top of his library, but it hides him from the Duress. So we see his hand looks like he's got at least a single Shardless Agent, double Brainstorm. He's going to actually hide the Brainstorms. And we're going to see what else is there. So he's got Shardless Agent, Abrupt Decay, a couple of lands, and an Ancestral Vision. You think you just take the Ancestral Vision here? What do you think?
I think I'm willing to. Well, I mean, I guess like his targets aren't really good either way.
Considering his available targets are Ancestral Vision, that's it.
And Abrupt Decay.
Oh, I'm sorry, and
Abrupt
Abrupt
Decay.
Decay.
I mean, I actually think I would take Abrupt Decay there, because like your sequencing with Lionside Diamond can get a little bit awkward if there's an Abrupt Decay in hand. I mean, the one thing is that you know that the opponent has Abrupt Decay, so you can sequence your things correctly. But you know, like if your draw involves maybe like a Chromox or, you know, something of that nature, Lotus Petal as well. Yeah, I think because Visions isn't really going to do very much.
Right.
You know, you can make the argument of like they can just Brainstorm Visions back and then Shardless Agent into it. So, you know, that's the other part of where Abrupt Decay doesn't do very much in the matchup. Also, maybe you want to take another blue card from your opponent's hand so they can't have a blue card for Force of Will. So I think there can be arguments made for both sides.
So just a land drop from Marius, and then a Ponder from BBD. Yeah, I actually think, the more I think about it, I like the Abrupt Decay as the card you take. I mean, 3 cards is a lot, but that implies that Marius has had time to suspend and resolve the Ancestral Visions. You know, the 3 cards don't show up after the game's over if BBD's able to win before it ever resolves.
Yeah, I mean, what it looks like Marius would have done if Ancestral Visions was still there was he would have Brainstormed it back and then Shardless Agent it into it.
Right.
So, you know, it wouldn't have been the slow tick down via suspension, as you're going to see him cast the Brainstorm, put 2 cards back, sacrifice Misty Rainforest to make it a true Brainstorm here. But I still think that, you know, between the 2 cards, and I think it is pretty close, I think it's better. 1, because you don't want your opponent to draw 3 cards, and 2, because it's a blue card in case Marius does run into Force of Will, that I think you would be happy to remove via Force of Will. You want to put some tension on the blue cards in that deck.
Yeah, Brainstorming it back, obviously a quicker play, but it also, you know, he needs the time to cast the Shardless Agent too, and, you know, and the lands to cast the Shardless Agent. As you can see, if he had Brainstormed it back, I mean, I guess he would have waited to Brainstorm it back, but still, it's all implied time going by. So a Thoughtseize from Marius, and wow, that's quite the hand. We've got a Preordain, a Lotus Petal, a Cabal Therapy, and 2 Rituals, Cabal Rituals.
And again, Brian had a cast Ponder the last turn, so he might be hiding something here from this card he believes is going to be coming. And again, he does have some pretty good information of what Marius had because of a turn 1 Duress, so his Cabal Therapy is not going to be guessing. He'll actually, assuming that he wants to name a certain card,
right,
he'll be able to do that with Cabal Therapy. He's got a lot of information. He doesn't have all of it, just a healthy amount of it.
So Thoughtseize finishes resolving. Marius plays a land and passes back to BBD. We've got a Brainstorm on top from BBD, so it looks like just a pass the turn.
I mean, he's not really much of a rush, and he doesn't have any reason to be. He's not underneath any pressure right now, and he's got a Cabal Therapy that allows him to beat a Force of Will. Here comes the Shardless Agent. It's going to hit Ancestral Visions.
Yeah, and there you see the old free 3 cards here. That's the power of a Shardless Agent into Ancestral Visions. And that's kind of the reason to play the deck, really, like that interaction.
Yeah, that combination is incredibly good.
Huge reasons to play the deck.
There's 3 mana, peel 3, get a 2/2 buy. 2/2 buy doesn't really matter all that much, but it's not irrelevant. At least it's a way for Marius to actually start pressuring Braun-Duin. So it's a step in the right direction. Here's a Deathrite Shaman as well. BBD does not cast Brainstorm. Now he's going to. Okay.
So Brainstorm from BBD here.
It might be go time now. He's going to put some cards back. I think he might be able to get his hand empty enough that the Infernal Tuner that he just drew off of Brainstorm will be Hellbent. So I believe it's going to be go time. He can lead off his turn by casting Dark Ritual. He's also got Lotus Petal over there, but he, of course, within the sequencing, it's going to have to involve a Cabal Therapy, naming Force of Will.
So BBD pondering his options here. Puts 2 back. He's going to crack a fetch land. His polluted Delta there.
You know, the only way that he can push Ignition on the on this turn is by making sure that his Infernal Tuner when he does cast it is Hellbent. So assuming that he put back the necessary cards with Brainstorm and he can empty everything out, he might be able to go off this turn in a big way.
Yeah, he needs to make sure the coast is clear. That's the whole thing with Cabal Therapy. I mean, that's why it's there. You're protecting your combo. It's not as easy to go off when you have no idea what is in your opponent's hand.
Dark Ritual to start.
Ooh.
He might Force of Will this, actually.
Yeah, it looks like Marius is considering it, so Dark Ritual on the stack.
And that's actually, it's funny because I think that's the one he actually does want to Force of Will in this go-around. I believe Braun-Duin is sitting there with multiple Cabal Rituals, which we saw from Marius when he cast that Thoughtseize. Dark Ritual is actually the starter in this case to actually get everything brewing. Now, he does have a Lotus Petal as well, but I actually think that its Dark Ritual is the key card right now for Braun-Duin to actually get this entire thing in motion. Marius is going to Force of Will, removing a Brainstorm.
Yeah, I like that. He has, his other option was a Jace, I believe, as far as blue cards. I believe the other card in his hand is not a blue card.
Oh.
And he has the mana there to play the Jace and can get that online as soon as next turn, presuming he has a next turn. But I think he shored things up here pretty well by countering that Dark Ritual. It's
interesting because if Braun-Duin has if he has another Dark Ritual, he's still good to go. But he also has a Lotus Petal as well in his hand, so he could have led with Lotus Petal, or he could have just led with Cabal Therapy. Like, he could have led with it either off of the Badlands or by playing a Lotus Petal and sacking it for a black and then doing it. By not doing that, you see his hand right now, he's looking at a hand of, I believe, double Cabal Ritual, Lotus Petal, Infernal Tuner, and Cabal Therapy. Now he can't really go anywhere, and if you saw Marius when he resolved his Ancestral Visions, he actually drew a Hymn to Torak.
That's what the other card is.
And so now Braun-Duin has to pass the turn back, and he probably is hoping that that Marius just cast a Jace, but there's no way he's going to do that.
Hymn to Torak there from Marius, and that's going to wreck BBD's hand, potentially.
Yeah, I mean, he's going to have to get mighty fortunate. He really needs to hit the Lotus Petal and the Cabal Therapy.
And so Hymn to Torak resolving. They're randomly determining.
If he can roll a 1 through or a 4, there we go.
There's a 4. Okay.
So what is he going to lose?
And he loses Lotus Petal and Cabal Ritual.
Cabal Ritual, excuse me.
So the therapy is still there. Marius already did use 1 Force of Will, so BBD has sort of cleared that out of it. Well, he definitely has cleared that one out of his hand. He doesn't know whether or not Marius has an additional one. But that's going to be irrelevant this turn because Marius, I believe, has 1 card left in hand. It is Jace the Mind Sculptor.
And he's just played this. He just played a Woodland, a Verdant Catacombs. He can sacrifice that, get a land. He's got Deathrite Shaman, which can provide a mana, act as a Bird of Paradise right now, and he can actually cast Jace, empty his hand, and have a pretty good board. But I think Braun-Duin still might be able to go off because that Cabal Therapy is going to have, that Cabal Ritual is going to have a threshold, so he'll be at 5 black, and it really does just depend on what his draw step is. He's going to take a look at the top card.
Marius is going to take a look too. So yeah, I was going to say, because if Marius brainstorms here, that's nice and all. Of course, you love brainstorming, but you only net 1 card, so even if you find a Force of Will in the top card, you can't do anything with it here. It's not a free spell if you don't have a blue card.
Gataxian Probe is the card that was left on top.
And BBD's going to go ahead and use it.
Yeah, might as well.
And draw a card, so kind of extends the draw step 1 card deeper. It is a land on top for BBD, Volcanic Island.
I'm trying to figure out how good land is right now, again, because he does have Threshold, Cabal Ritual. Assuming he does have one of those in his hand right now, it's going to be 5 mana. 5 plus 1 is 6. 6 minus 2 is 4 for Infernal Tutor, and then 4 left is not 5, so he can't get that nauseam yet.
Yeah, the Cabal Therapy, irrelevant this turn.
Yeah, the therapy's usefulness is gone now.
Right.
Yeah, that doesn't have relevance. The only cards that matter in center are the Infernal Tutor and the other card. But on the flip side, you have to get the Cabal Therapy out of your hand so that you can Hellbent the Infernal Tutor.
All right, so Marius draws his card for the turn, hides it from us. We'll see what the play is here. Does he keep checking BBD's top card?
Or does he brainstorm and get a little bit deeper?
Yeah, is it like, do you protect yourself from those cards one way or the other way? Like, how do you want to try to fight this? Do you want to try to find counter magic? He knows that there is a Cabal Therapy in Brian's hand, doesn't he? Or maybe he doesn't. We knew that. There was the Hymn to Torok.
Yeah, and he knows too. He knows from the Thoughtseize.
Oh, that's right, from the Thoughtseize. So he knows that the Cabal Therapy is there. So does he want to kind of keep himself sort of empty-handed so he's therapy-proof, which is a strange way to be therapy-proof?
I mean, he can still be therapied. He just can't hit it. He just can't name a. He just can't hit.
Right. Yeah. But I mean, if he draws into like Force of Will and a blue card,
sure. If
that's the way he wants to fight BBD, a therapy is going to tear that apart, because that's likely what BBD would name with therapy. So fetch land cracked there for Marius, and he is going to play
Jace, wow.
Another Jace.
So he brainstormed on the first Jace and then is playing the second Jace and Fate Sealing.
I like it. So there you see the new Legend rule at work, where Jace number 2 just replaces the first Jace after you get the 1 activation. So he actually gets to use Jace twice. Yep. Needs 2 Jaces to do it, but he gets to use Jaces twice in 1 turn. So BBD untaps. His turn has 3 lands available. Potentially a 4th if he drew it, and he did. This is Scalding Tarn. So his hand is Infernal Tutor, Cabal Therapy, and is it Dark Ritual?
Yeah,
or
I think it's Dark Ritual now.
It looks a little red, not pinkish like the Cabal Ritual.
So he's not generating as much mana as he was before. It looks like he might be moving in here though. Like there's like a pretty high chance that he might just cast Cabal Therapy just for it to do nothing.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, just so he can get it out of his hand already. Yeah. And just pass. Yep. And so now you're going to see Marius remove a card from the graveyard.
He's going to use that Deathrite Shaman as a Grim Lavamancer to chip away 2 points at a time from BBD. Alongside that, Shardless Agent. 4 points of life every turn is going to make quick work.
Yeah, he's really got to try to get this game over with. The other thing too, there's like for Marius, he needs to just get after the life total, and what to do with that Jace is really difficult because right now Braun-Duin is sitting at 11. The fetch land can represent that he's at 10. Charlotte's Agent Attack puts him down to 8. Deathrite puts him down to 6. So it looks like we're going to be playing at least 2 more turns here. You can look at the top card, and that fetch land is a big deal as well because the fetch land can shuffle the deck again. Like Marius puts a card to the bottom, and it might be time to just say, okay, shuffle because I want access to being able to draw that card next turn.
And BBD declines, and he draws. Was it another Infernal Tutor?
Which isn't the worst draw in the world right now because Infernal Tutor can use an unhellbent Infernal Tutor, reveal Dark Ritual, and go find one of those. So it's actually
might
not
be what
bad.
He's going to do here. Looks like he was at least considering it.
Because the problem here is like he needs to get one of the Infernal Tutors out of his hand now. He doesn't have much of a choice, like because he needs the other one to be hellbent, so he has to cast one this turn.
One, yeah.
I think he's doing the math right now to figure out if I can go off. If I Infernal Tutor for Dark Ritual, that costs 2 mana. Then I can Dark Rit plus Dark Rit, which means it's going to give me 5. Then I'll have 6 with the other land left. 6 minus 2 from the Infernal Tutor leaves me at 4. And then 4 allows him to get like an Empty the Warrens type card. But he still wants to try to build towards a Past in Flames turn. And he can't do that. Now, of course, doing that is difficult because of the Deathrite Shaman as well, but I think that's what he kind of wants to try to build towards, and he's just having a little bit of difficulty of doing that.
You see Infernal Tutor there on the screen. Kev Walker, the artist on that.
Yeah.
Pointing that out to you, Cedric. You can see it's an interesting card. It's got that Hellbent ability from Dissension where you can search for basically a copy of a card already in your hand, but if you are Hellbent and you have no other cards in hand, well, then you can just get whatever you like right out of your library.
Brian trying to figure out exactly what he can do right now, and I think he's come to the realization that he does have to cast an Infernal Tutor just to go get another Dark Ritual, because again, having 2 Infernal Tutors in your hand just messes everything up. So there is going to be an Infernal Tutor. It's going to resolve. He's going to show Dark Ritual to go get one. And there are plenty of really, really good draw steps here for Braun-Duin on the next turn. You know, like I assume he'll be getting another turn. But there are a lot of good draw steps from next turn. Like Lion's Eye Diamond is fantastic next turn because he needs a boost in mana. That Dark Ritual is going to help because again, those 2 Dark Rituals equal 5 mana.
Right. And
then with the other 3 lands, that equals 8 mana. And then 8 minus 2 is 6 for Infernal Tutor. 6 minus 4 for Passive Flames is 2. They might be able to go off that way. Now, the big thing here is what is Marius removing from the graveyard?
Right. That's going to matter for Past Inflames.
Yes.
So, Marius untaps, Fate Seals with Jace, swings in with the Shardless Agent, and passes the turn.
Braun-Duin draws a Cabal Therapy. Not the best draw, but he can... I mean, it's not the best draw, but it's not the worst draw either, because like Cabal Therapy now makes sure that the coast is clear. It sucks that he has to invest mana to do this, so I think every mana that he has right now matters, but he needs to get the card out of his hand yet again.
Cabal Ritual was what was at least one of the cards that have been removed so far with the Deathrite Shaman. I think Marius's hand is just 2 lands.
And Braun-Duin's good, definitely named Force of Will with this Cabal Therapy, just to make sure the coast is clear. He's very familiar with Shardless Plug, and if you're familiar with Shardless Plug, you understand that it can't play a lot of different counter magic because of the Cascade mechanic. So there's not any Spell Pierces or Dazes or like the actual card Counterspell or Mana Leak. None of those cards you have to name. It's just Force of Will.
So, Ritual. 6 mana floating. Going to use the, is it 5? Because I thought he just, oh, I'm sorry, you're right, it's 5 mana because he used 1 for the Cabal Therapy, so 5 mana floating. He uses 2 for the Infernal Tutor, finds a Past in Flames.
So he's got 3, so right now he's up to 5, 5 minus 2 is 3. And so what he's got to do here, so he's got 3 black mana floating, so for Passive Flames he needs to use the blue and the red, so he has a black mana left floating. So he has 1 black in his mana pool.
Yep.
And now he can start trying to get back some work here. The one thing for Marius is, does he want to respond right now to this, or does he let Passive Flames resolve and keep going?
So there you see Past in Flames, a mythic rare from Innistrad block. It is really only seen play in these kinds of decks.
Yeah, I mean, this is the kind of deck that is basically meant for. It's a Yawgmoth's Will variant. In some ways it's better than Yawgmoth's Will, in some ways it's worse, which is kind of strange and unique. You know, I really wonder if Yawg Will was legal in Legacy, people would play that card instead of this one. There's some genuine interest there. So now,
well, Yawgmoth's Will costs 3, right?
Yeah, it costs 2 and 2 and a black.
Flashback.
Yeah,
right. But otherwise, it's the same concept.
So now Braun-Duin is triple Dark Ritual. So he had 1 black. So this is going to put him up from 3 minus 1 is 2 plus 3 is 5 minus 1 is 4 plus 3 is 7 black mana.
Yes, so 7 black mana in his mana pool.
And the storm count is high enough now that if he does find a Tendrils, Marius is dead. The question again is with Deathrite Shaman is, what is he going to respond to, if anything? So I believe there are 2 Infernal Tutors down there, so he can't get them both. So now Infernal Tutor is going to go find Tendrils of Agony. Brian has cast enough spells, and because there are 2 Infernal Tutors down there, here's a Tendrils with a lethal storm count, and Braun-Duin is going to win game number 1.
Yeah, very impressive. These storm decks are always fun to watch because it looks like they're doing nothing or very little until they kill you.
And the tough part there for Marius is like the Jace management, because like you're kind of in a bad situation either way. It's like, do I want to Fate Seal you and try to control the top card of your deck? Like if I put a card to the bottom, your pieces are so redundant that am I even accomplishing anything? But if I brainstorm, like am I brainstorming anything relevant? You know, what are the relevant cards that I can find right now via brainstorm? There are a ton of them.
Right, and even if he brainstorms into counter magic, BBD has access to that Cabal Ritual. If he names Force of Will, I mean, what other counter magic is available main deck?
No, there's nothing.
Exactly.
And Brian knows that.
Right.
Again, because they can't play counter magic because of the Cascade mechanic.
Right.
They can only play a certain counter spell, and it is Force of Will.
Right. So even if he finds a way to interact, as far as counter magic goes. BBD would have named and did name Force of Will. It would have been gone anyway.
And again, you have to remember in this matchup too that like there's only there's not a very high amount of relevant cards that Marius can brainstorm into. You know, if you take a look at the deck list, like there's like, you know, the creatures like Deathrite Shaman, Charlotte's Agent, Tarmogoyf, Baleful Strix. But like if you're looking for like high impact cards that you can find, you know, it's basically Thoughtseize and Hymn to Torak, and those aren't 4s in this deck. You're looking at 2 Thoughtseizes and 2 Hymns, and then there's 1 Liliana as well. So, you know, his percentages on brainstorming into something relevant were not really that high. That being said, the percentage chance of him fate sealing Brian and actually finding something that he cares about to put towards the bottom, like if you put or keep on the top, what have you, isn't very high either. So basically what this equates to is that Jace is just not very good in that situation.
Yeah.
That's a long-winded way of saying that somehow Jace isn't the best card in that situation.
Not better than all.
Yeah.
Jace the Mind Sculptor. Better than almost all.
Yeah, most of the time. As we'll take a look at the sideboards here, we'll go over Cholewa's first, which is 2 Thoughtseize, 2 Flusterstorm, another Hymn to Torak, 2 Liliana the Veil, 2 Augury Charm, 2 more Baleful Strix, 3 Nihil Spellbound, and a Dismember. That's, incidentally, a lot of hate cards for Storm, as he can board in 2 Thoughtseizes, he can board in 2 Flusterstorms, an additional Hymn to Torak, 2 more Liliana the Veil, so we're looking at around 8 or 9 discard spells after sideboard. You can even board in some number of Nihil Spellbombs, because Nihil Spellbombs will allow it so that Past in Flames isn't a way to go off,
right.
And also you can shut off those Cabal rituals as well.
Yeah, it seems like a lot of options for Marius there to bring in. How does BBD combat this kind of expected hate from the Sharpest Bug deck?
It's pretty tough. I mean, he's got 2 Slaughter Pact, 3 Abrupt Decay, 2 Dread of Night, mostly there for Thalia, Garden of Thraben, 2 Chain of Vapors, 2 Surgical Extractions, 1 Cabal Therapy, 1 Lotus Petal, 2 Caracas. One card you don't see in the sideboard is a card like Leyline of Sanctity to dodge the discard. That's not there, and there isn't really anything here to me that says, hey, like I'm here to beat like a discard heavy deck like Charlotte's Bug.
Right.
That doesn't really exist outside of, you know, maybe brainstorming and hiding some things. I don't really see a lot of cards that he can actually board in here that are going to swing this matchup in his favor. There's no card that really sets off a trick in your mind of like, oh yeah, it's coming in for sure.
Right.
Like Leyline would, for example. So I don't foresee Brian shifting a lot of cards in and out of his deck. Again, Storm is this engine deck where you can't really sideboard a lot of cards out in the first place. But I also don't see him being able to do that very much here with the cards that he has access to in his sideboard. So I think that things, for the most part, stay pretty much the same for him, whereas on Marius' side, as we just went over, a lot of things change here for him. He's going to get to board in a lot of cards.
I agree. Yeah, it's more about, as far as BBD is concerned, kind of more about what in his main deck is bad, and there's not very much.
Yeah.
You know, everything is kind of put together in a certain way. All the gears need to be turning and fitting together in the right places, and that's how the deck works.
Yeah, I mean, Storm is just this deck where you don't get the opportunity to really board in. You're not going to ever, and I'm sure someone who plays Storm at home will probably correct me here, but I don't feel like there's ever a time where they're going to board in 7 cards. You know, and this isn't even, you know, this isn't a version that plays Burning Wish, but this isn't a deck that's going to be able to board in 7 or 8 cards like Marius can here, where Marius is again going to board in 2 Thoughtseize, 2 Flusterstorm, that Hymn to Torak, that's 5. Liliana the Veil times 2 is 7. Some number of Nihil Spellbombs, he can board up in between 8 to 11 cards in this matchup if he wants to. That's not something Storm has the ability to do because it needs all of those cards to interact together to be able to go off.
Right. All right, so the players have presented, and I think BBD is good with his opener. Marius kicking things off here with a fetch land immediately on turn 1. Finds an Underground Sea. And immediately suspends an Ancestral Vision. Brainstorm off the top for BBD. Gitaxian Probe is the play for the turn prior to any lands. We see a Baleful Strix, a Hymn to Torak, and 2 fetch lands. Verdant Catacombs. BBD is going to take 2 there, draw a card. Does he have a land drop? Don't see many lands. He does have a Polluted Delta though. Don't see much more in the way of lands in his hand. So passes the turn. Visions ticks down to 3 counters. Marius able to draw his card for the turn. It is a Thoughtseize, and we're going to see exactly what BBD is holding here. Thoughtseize on the stack now.
It's time to lay it out. Looks like it might be time for a brainstorm from Braun-Duin.
Looks like he wants to hide something. He's got something to hide. Tutoring up an Underground Sea of his own. And Brainstorm will be the next card to hit the stack, as you mentioned.
So there's the Underground. Smells like a Brainstorm. It is a Brainstorm.
There it is. Mercadian Masks Brainstorm. Tony Dieterlipsy artwork.
You are good with that. Brian is not good at drawing lands. that's what happened here.
You know who is good at drawing lands? John Avon.
Yeah.
So good.
And while Brown does resolve this brainstorm, being informed by Chris Chauvet at C Chauvet, if I'm pronouncing your name wrong on Twitter, I do apologize. Yawgmoth is much better than Passive Flames because Yawgmoth's will gets back everything. Like Lotus Petals, LEDs.
Like everything.
I forgot about that little tidbit. As you can probably tell, I'm not much of a Storm player. But yes, if Yawgmoth's will was legal, they would play that instead of Passive Flames. So we'll just cross that off the old checklist.
Yeah, so we got Double Dark Ritual. What is that black card? Is that a Duress, it looks like? So Double Dark Ritual, Duress, Ponder, Empty the Warrens, Brainstorm, and Preordain. What do you take here? Do you take like the Storm spell that'll, potentially the potential kill spell there? Do you take the Brainstorm to keep BBD from digging into more lands and trying to put things together?
I don't have any interest. I don't have any interest in taking a deck manipulation spell. That's a lot to say, because he has multiple.
So many of them.
Yeah,
right?
like the redundancy of that. If you take a Brainstorm, we still got a Ponder and a Preordain. So
maybe
taking
even
any of
Duress.
those doesn't really matter. Duress is dependent on what's in my hand.
Right.
To me, it's like I kind of just want to take a Empty the Warrens here. But I can also see an argument for taking a Dark Ritual, so there's one less of those. Like, I don't think that taking a Ponder, or Preordain, or a Brainstorm actually accomplishes anything. Those three cards have the exact same text, so what's the difference between having 3 versus 2 of them?
Table number 40. Kenny Joa, please report to red table number 40.
Yeah, like you said, it kind of depends on what's in his hand. If you've got something to protect, you take the Duress.
I would be very surprised if he took Duress, because that's a loud declaration that I don't want you to see my hand because I have something of relevance over here, and I don't want you to take it. I don't know what that thing of relevance would be. I mean, it could be something as simple as Hymnotoriac, but it's just a loud declaration of you don't get to do this. Now you can make the argument, as you mentioned, for Brainstorm of those three. Of those 3 deck manipulation spells, because he doesn't get to hide anything from a Hymnotoriac, which you see is in Marius's hand right now.
So Empty the Warrens is the pick for Marius. So no Empty the Warrens for BBD unless he wants to, unless he gets a Past in Flames going. So we have Preordain from BBD. He's going to put those both on the bottom. Draws his card for the turn. It is not a land. It looks like a Cabal Ritual. And he passes the turn. Still just 1 land in play for BBD. Marius is going to play and crack a fetch land here. Verdant Catacombs finds. Looks like it was going to be Underground Sea. Marius changed his mind here. Looks like he's going to get a Bayou, which makes sense considering the deck does need access to green. And a Hymn to Turok is the play. Meanwhile, Ancestral Visions has now ticked down to 2 counters. So as BBD discards 2 at random, we see a Brainstorm and a the Limdul's Vault there.
Limdul's Vault, if you keep up with legacy writer Karsten Cotter, who has written a couple pieces on Storm over the past month, he dedicated an entire article about 4,500 words about Limdul's Vault and why it should be in Storm. Now, I'm no Storm player, but he convinced me that if I were to play Storm, I would have some number of Limdul's Vaults in my deck. You see Brian has 2 of them in his deck list today. If you like Legacy and you like Storm, after this match is over, don't leave us now.
Yes.
Or at any point today. Maybe tomorrow, read Carson's article about Limdul's Vault, because it's absolutely fantastic.
So a Ponder followed by a Duress from BBD, and no targets in Marius's hand. I believe it was just triple land.
He's got Baleful Strix and 2 lands.
Oh, it's Baleful Strix and 2 lands, that's right. Baleful Strix is going to hit the table here. Marius draws a card. It is, I believe, another land. So Verdant Catacombs Go is the play from Marius. Ancestral Visions looming next turn.
Is it go time for Brian?
Brian
Yeah, okay.
Says it's go time. I don't think he's casting that Dark Ritual for
That's
fun.
not for funsies? No?
It's like,
How about is the second one for funsies?
second one for funsies.
Or are you
maybe
committed
not.
at this point?
I guess
he might be committed now.
Yeah, triple Ritual. That'll do it.
5 minus 2 is 3, so up to 8 black.
LED.
LED. Yeah, Marius, I think you're dead.
Yeah, probably.
Now I know you're dead.
Ad nauseum. Card was originally printed in Alara block, and I think people thought it might be a big deal, and it kind of is in the Legacy format, but never made any sort of splash in Standard.
Yeah, I mean this is more of like this card is built for unfair formats. That's what this is here to do, and it's currently doing that. It's being unfair right now. You're seeing that in action. You know, something can certainly go wrong here for Braun-Duin where he doesn't find the necessary cards to go off. It's pretty hard to do as he's taken 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Looks like 9 maybe. So he's going to go a little bit deeper, and that's the card that he actually needed to find. So he spiked the Infernal Tutor. He can generate a bunch more mana, find a Tendrils, and get this game over with. So he'll go through the motions, and he hasn't even played a land yet either. I don't think, Joey. I think he started his turn.
I believe you're correct.
With 2 lands. He's got a little bit of mana floating. Should be 3 black floating from that little Rituals Storm that he brewed. 3 minus 1 is 2, plus 3 is 5 now. He'll duress just to make sure things are clear. Marius is going to show him 3 lands.
It's clear, and Marius extends the hand.
So Brian Braun-Duin is going to move on to 5-0 with that Nauseam Tendrils defeating Marius Cholewa.